Hello and welcome to Mailbag Monday on a Tuesday afternoon. This is the Walk Off. I'm Scott Belford, joined as always by the best co-host in the biz, Adam Mack, sporting his fancy tartan hat. Would you call that tartan for all of the Scottish and English folks? You can correct us on that. There we go. It
I
looks
like
good
it.
though,
There you
buddy.
go.
I love it, man.
Thank
I
you.
think it's my favorite hat you have right now, and you wear
Oh,
it very
thank you.
well. I know it's
Huh.
snug on your head, but no one can tell.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Lots to get to here, so we're not going to take too much time here. I will start the mailbag by saying a sincere apologies to everyone who is well versed in Latin American names. I know I have been butchering some of the town names in the Dominican Republic, some of the baseball players' names, and I will say this, okay? I have done my research here today. I've tried very hard to get all the correct pronunciations. And I'm going to say I will still fuck it up. And I need you to just be cool about it. I'm sorry. I am trying. And I will say this as well. I do appreciate everyone who reached out trying to teach this know nothing gringo the right way to say some of these names and stuff. Uh, Juan Marichel, a little bit of a T SH sound to it there. Hall of Famer, Dominican Republic royalty, if you will. This guy has his name on the stadium here in Santo Domingo. He's got the big statue out front, of course. Marichel had the very cool windup. You know, the old school windup where the guy gets his leg like above
Oh
his
yeah.
head, kind of like
Yeah.
falls into it. So that was
Uh-huh.
kind of cool. Yeah. And they've got that statue with his leg up like that in front of the stadium.
Who
Also,
has Go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Just a quick one. Who has the most interesting windup in baseball, Major League Baseball today?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Folks, grounds crew, drop your comments below. Who has the most interesting windup as a pitcher in baseball currently? I'm not really thinking of anything all that funky outside of some of the sidearm guys. Simber had kind of a weird.
Yeah. Maybe Nestor Cortez has some gimmicks that they're not consistent. He changes it up quite a bit, but that
He
in and
does do
of
some
itself,
weird shimmies, if you will. Yeah.
yeah, and some pauses and yeah. So I don't know.
I love that question. There you go. Starting it
There you go.
with a question for you. We are going to get to all of your questions you've already posed, folks. We comb through your interaction every single week. First mailbag of the new year. Of course, a very happy 2025 to all of you watching. We could not be here without you. And so, of course, we appreciate your patronage over the years, as this is officially year number 5 for us here on the walk off. We haven't hit it yet. July is our official 5 year mark, but we are now in the territory of it. Okay, you can reach out on Twitter at Walk Off Podcast, Blue Sky, the Walk Off Podcast, Instagram, the Walk Off Podcast. You can always drop your comments if you are a Patreon member. We call it the Patreon bump. That $4 a month gets you instant access to all of our shows and our interviews, but also you get on the mailbag automatically. We're going to dive right in here. Of course, you can leave your comments on YouTube. We try to get to as many of those as possible. Let's start with Twitter. This one is from Trevor. He DM'd us. He goes, will be totally fascinating to see what 2025 brings for Bowden Francis. Having him be a legit 4-5 guy would be a godsend, and it goes up in value from there. Or is he a 1 to 3 question mark? One of the few things on this team I'm keen to see in 2025. Was this a spurt mirage or was he for real? We know MLB can be cruel. Just ask Davis, which very true. Davis Schneider, all of us obviously had a lot of hope for going into 2024. And he did struggle to stay with his power stroke, didn't he? By about June, I think he stopped hitting dingers. Hit a few last month of the season there. I think he finished around 12. Davis Schneider comeback's not anything I think anyone's even talking about, but my God, even him finding some sort of happy medium where he's above a 200 hitter and still can kind of find that ability to hit lefties again, sure would go a long ways for this team. But I think you said it best in Friday when we were talking about in Francis. Like, he's probably the least likely of all of the guys in this rotation where we would say, yeah, he's an ace, but probably the highest upside guy.
You think Davis Schneider has the highest upside for our
I'm talking
position
Bowden Fran.
players?
I'm talking Bowden Francis now, buddy.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah, sorry. I thought this was like a as a comparison. Like, here's
No,
what
no, no, no,
Davis
no,
Schneider could still
no, no,
be.
no,
I thought that was some real optimism on Davis
no, 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 no,
Schneider.
no, no,
Sorry.
no, no, no.
Okay. I
Apologies.
misread
Didn't
where
know
that
I
was
made it
going.
that way. I was talking Bowden Francis and
Okay.
this starting rotation.
Yes. Okay. So we're
Where are
we're
you
moving
at?
on from Schneider.
Where are you at on Mister Trust your shit and let it eat?
I don't know. There's too many question marks.
I
I
think
don't feel
Trevor nails
good.
it though. It's like it's the one thing, not to use the word keen too much as he did here, but I am of like all the question marks. This is one where I am very interested. I'm keen. I'm intrigued to see where Mr. Francis lands because really he could be anywhere from not a major league player by the end of 2025 to solidified himself at the top of this rotation. And I mean, I know that these are the most unlikely scenarios, and he's probably somewhere in between. And Trevor said it very well. If he can be a number four in this rotation, huge success, massive success, especially with the price tag attached to starting pitching in the current market. But we watched him at his best. Maybe that splitters unlocks something only time will tell. Drop your comments below. Where are you at, folks, on Bowden Francis? Do you think he has more in the tank? Do you think it was a little bit of a mirage? Is this guy already worth saying he's a number four in the rotation? A lot of question marks, and it really could come down to Bowden Francis. Is he good or not as to how far this team goes?
Thanks.
I'm not saying it's
Yeah.
all on him by any
Yeah.
means. And I agree, yikes is true. But Bowden Francis being a non-factor compared to him being a solid number two, my
Yeah.
God, that moves the needle a lot and can pile up your wins above your war there. So moving on,
Yeah.
sticking with Twitter. This one was from Megan. She sent this last night. She said, "Hey guys, happy new year to you both. Really hoping to land a spot on Mailbag with so much uncertainty surrounding this Blue Jays team right now," which is hilarious because we did just talk about the uncertainty surrounding Bowden Francis. But with so much uncertainty surrounding this Blue Jays team right now, what do you guys think is the most likely certainty in 2025? Is there anything or anybody you guys are counting on this year? So, looking for certainties in an uncertain time.
Mhm.
Now, I've got one in the chamber.
Okay.
Do you want me to throw to you and you go ahead? Or do you want me to dive into mine here and give you a few more seconds?
I've been back and forth on this all morning since reading this comment, and you're gonna have to lead the way on this, and I'll maybe
Okay.
get some inspiration from you.
So, the way I view this question is what would you financially put money on, Scott? And there's not a lot on this Blue Jays team I would put money on, but I think the one I'm leaning towards, the biggest certainty on this team is Jose Barrios pitching innings. I think
Okay.
that I think Jose Barrios is a certainty to pitch 180 plus innings, fingers crossed.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing in this scenario. Hopefully it's a good thing. You are going to need innings, though. And I think that betting on Jose Barrios to pitch 180 is one I'd be prepared to do. By the way, everyone who's a grounds crew member, feel free to drop your certainties. What do you think is a certainty for this team that is surrounded by question marks going into 2025?
Yeah, that's a good one. Um, what else do I feel certain of? What are my options here? Let's do it this way. Let's run down our options
Mm-hmm.
and then like Vladdy having another MVP season, or even just the season he had last year. I don't feel certain about that.
No,
Bo having a bounce back year, I feel
that's
is
not a bad
more
one.
that's more likely than Vladdy having another elite season, I think.
Bo being better than last year is almost a
That's
certainty.
an almost certainty, yeah. Um,
This question kind of made
outfield
me depressed,
wise,
Adam, a little bit because I was like,
yeah,
wow, I shouldn't be struggling this much to find like a sure thing in this lineup.
yeah. Outfield wise, Springer maybe plays 120 games. Varsho will put up elite defense.
Yeah, that's a good certainty.
Um, third base, I don't know who's playing third base. Second baseman is new. I know he's
Yeah,
good at
defense.
baseball. Um, but I don't know him well enough to be like, oh, I trust him. Um, pitching staff is so many question marks, man. Um, bullpen,
So many
can they
question
still
marks.
healthy? Bullpens in
Yeah,
general, like even in the
yeah.
best of circumstances, are uncertain. I'd
Our
say Bo
catching
Bichette.
position. Yeah,
I'd say
Bobichet
Bo Bichette
being better than
hitting
last year.
190 to 200 hits is like the thing I feel best about. I think health wise, he'll be good. I don't know. I think last
Contract
year was a
year.
blip on the radar,
Yeah,
and I think Bo's going to be right back to where he was. That's ah coming off of a down season though. It is hard to say
it is.
certain because it was yeah. I don't know. I'd say Bo Bichette hitting well for us, staying healthy, hitting well.
So go ahead and drop your comments below, folks. The certainties on this team. Adam taking Bo Bichette improving and being good again this year. I'm taking Jose Barrios pitching innings. Go on to Patreon in just a second here. One last Twitter question from Michael G. He wrote in yesterday as well. Hey guys, love the show. Hoping to make my debut in Mailbag tomorrow morning. So there you go. You made it, Michael. With Charlie Morton and Michael Lorenzen both off the market, is there a low cost pitching option still out there you could see having some upside that would fit into this Jays rotation? So there is one name that stood out to me as I went through the list still available. And I think he's pretty specific about the market he wants us to explore, which is guys that have some question marks attached to them, I think. Maybe a little bit more low cost, but definitely some faults within their repertoire. The guy who I really look at and like still is Jose Quintana. Number one, there's not a left-handed pitcher in this Blue Jays rotation currently, and that's not necessarily a need. I definitely would rather have the best right-handed pitchers possible and not worry about a lefty if that's the way they have to go. However, breaking up all these right-handers would be an excellent strategic thing organizationally for this team to do, especially with Ricky Tiedemann on the shelf for all of 2025. We're not going to see our big lefty until 2026. So having some sort of guy who can do it would be great. Quintana, of course, a little bit older. I think he's 35 now, 36. He definitely has some experience. He's been there, done that. And can you squeeze a little bit more out of him? Is he available for 1 year, 10 mil? Probably somewhere in there. 10 to 15 mil for 1 year is my guess where they need to spend to get a Quintana. I don't know. Did you have a name, Adam? I
Is
think you're
Justin
muted. Oh
Verlander
no, yeah,
crazy?
you're good. Justin Verlander's not crazy. A Max Scherzer, I'd be all right with that.
Right, like both of these guys are like on the wrong side of 30,
Wrong
being
side
that
of
they're on the
40.
I was gonna say being that they're on the wrong side of 40. Um, coming off of 40 plus $1 million deals, I think they both previous AAV 43 million. They're like 41 years old.
Hmm.
I don't know how much is left in the tank, but
You
how much
take
are
a
they going to sign
flyer.
for? Do they want to keep playing or are they done?
And that's the good question. That's a very good question. Would Justin Verlander stay in the league for 10 million? Right? Is Max Scherzer prepared to play another year of 42 for 15 mil? I don't know.
Feel like maybe, but probably not in Toronto. Like if I'm
Yeah.
one of those guys, I'm only coming back, especially if I'm not getting like a full paycheck. I'm only coming back if it's like another shot at a World Series ring that I feel good about. Like
Unless you secretly
If the Dodgers or the Mets offered me 15 million and I'm Justin Verlander, I'd be like, yeah, fuck it, let's go. Let's go. Like I'm gonna
you have
skip
an
training
amendment.
camp. Yeah, I'm just gonna pitch.
If I'm Verlander or Scherzer, I'm having a secret amendment in my contract. If a shitty team signs me, if I go to Toronto, I want it to be like at the deadline, you move me to the Dodgers,
No
even if you
matter
have to take
what.
nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah, you.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough times in Toronto, man. I don't know
It
who
is.
we're
It
gonna
is.
bring in.
It's
Like,
yeah. It's oh, we need some stuff to happen to bring back any sort of hope. Going to Patreon, of course, the Patreon bump. We couldn't do the program without you folks. So thank you so very much. This one starting with Mish. She goes, our ace, quote end quote, is whoever is on the mound on any given day. You want every starting pitcher to think they are the ace. Of course, we asked this question on Friday. Is there an ace in this staff? And both Adam and I, we kind of agreed on no, right? It's not
yeah,
really. It would be great if Gosman rebounded to where he was in 2023, which was still fringy to call him an ace, but definitely that guy at the top of the rotation you love to have. So I'm with Mish. I think it's lovely for them to be competing as an ace, but boy, oh boy, to have a guy in this rotation where other fans are like, that's an ace. Oh boy, that would go a long way. Definitely would be nice.
yeah.
Sticking with Patreon here, Johnny Eaton chimes and he goes, "Oh boy, Alec Manoa feels good. I've heard that song before. Walk the walk, buddy." Of course,
Yeah,
this
indeed.
also from Friday's show where we kind of asked with Alec Manoa coming out and stating that he feels the best he has since 2022 and that he feels like his delivery is note for note where it was when he came up in 2021 and 2022. And most of you who answered this question are along the thinking of Johnny, right? Where, yeah, that's great. You feel good. That's better than feeling bad.
Hmm.
Walk the walk.
Indeed.
Going to Mark Drabert. He says, gonna keep it positive, which means not talking about the off season at all. Wanted to thank you guys for a really great year of content and shows. Wish you and your families a really fantastic 2025. So, thank you
You
very
as well,
much,
Mark.
Mark. We actually had Adam a lot of very nice messages along the same line. Same line. I don't know how many I passed along to you. I know I passed a few
Hmm.
along to you, but we're talking dozens. So, thank you very much to everyone
Hmm.
who wished us a happy
Thank
New
you.
Year and a Merry Christmas and all that stuff. Right back at you. It is appreciated. Wyatt G says, fellas, I hate that the Yankees signed Paul Goldschmidt for 1 year because you know what that means? It means they will be in the market for a first baseman next off season. If Vladdy
Hmm.
leaves and becomes a Yankee, not only will it feel like my heart was ripped out, but it'll be like throwing it in a blender and hitting puree. Talk about insult to injury.
Yeah.
Wyatt makes a very good point, and Adam, when he stated this, I started to think, and I'm like, ooh, the Yankees could use a first baseman. And
Hmm.
the Red Sox could really use a first baseman. And the New York Mets could use a first baseman. And damn, those are some big market teams with some very deep pockets. Oh.
Oh, I hope he goes to the Mets.
I hope that there's some magic left in old Ross Atkins' used up sleeve he has. Just check in there. What do you got, Ross? You got anything up there? Because, dear Lord, it would sure be nice to make sure that man doesn't hit free agency. But if I'm Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and I mean, we've talked about this on the show many times, like Adam, you just don't. You just, yeah, right? You just go to free agency.
You just do the Aaron Judge, right? Like at this point, you just fly out to San Francisco and
Yeah.
you do the process and then you come back to Toronto if that's where you want to be. But
Hey, when John Heyman announces that Arson Guerrero is headed to the Giants, we'll all know it's for sure.
look, if I was Vladdy and I had my conversation with the front office, and for whatever reason they were like, all we can do is 375 or all we can do is 350, and he goes, I think I'm worth 450. Even if I was reluctantly agreeing to 350 at this point, I was like, okay, fine. My kids are in school here. There's comfort, all the bullshit of whatever, right? Even if that was the case, best case scenario, if you're going to inevitably sign with the Jays for 350, go to free agency, go get $500 million offers, and then sign with Toronto for 350 and be a hero, right? Like you go, hey,
Yeah.
I fucking took a $200 million discount to stay here, right? Like build the statue now is what the Jays would be saying. Like the fans would be over the moon,
Oh yeah.
right? Like there's
It's not happening, but yeah.
other than getting a huge payday, there's no reason to sign right now. Like I can't,
Hmm.
even if the Jays offered him a number and he's like, oh fuck yeah, that's a great number. Sign it next year. Sign it 12 months from now.
I
Unless he's
really
worried that he's going to
do
not play well or be injured, but I don't think that's a fear. So
I really do wonder what that number is and if there is even a number. Like obviously there's a number, right?
yeah,
But all the rumors of it being 450, I don't know, man. Is it weird? I'm just like, do it. Because, like,
yeah, no,
I mean, one thing signing Vladimir Guerrero Jr. would do is it would make any semblance of a rebuild so much shorter and so much easier to swallow. And then you still have the option of bringing in high priced free agent talent because you have a pillar, you have a core member of your team, something that free agents are looking at Toronto right now and they are not seeing. So,
that's how I kind of forget about the Bo and Vlad of it all, right? Is like we're looking at the end of this and things are bleak. And I feel like, well, even if we sign Vlad to a 14-year deal, doesn't fix everything else, right?
mhm.
And that's where I get like my most depressed about things
Yeah,
is even if we lock him up, it doesn't fix everything. Except that it really does make the rest of the rebuild easier
does it ever?
because it makes free agents like feel better about signing here. Like we just talked Justin Verlander, right? Like
Yeah.
any guy that's just like, well, yeah, why would I want to sign a 6-year deal in Toronto to miss the playoffs every year? Like that's not interesting to me. And I think like if we didn't have Bo or Vlad, I'm just gonna say Vlad for the rest of this conversation. If we didn't have Vlad, and we were just a bad team, and Vlad was a player in the Cincinnati organization this whole time, and then next off season we signed Vlad, I'd be like, holy fucking shit, let's go.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like we could be on the back of 3 straight seasons of like 70-ish wins. But now we signed Vlad out of Cincinnati. I'd be like, oh fuck yeah, like let's fucking get going, right? So that's where it is. Like, okay, that's the optimism of like, okay, even with Vlad, we haven't been good or good enough, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, there is like a long
We're
term
sure a
future
lot,
you can build around,
and
and
we're a lot worse without him.
yeah, big time.
Going to Discord. This is from Swing and a Belt. Goes, sometimes baseball operations looks like a grift. A handful of dudes convincing wildly wealthy people who don't know any better that they know what they are doing. It's impressive how bad some GMs are. Veracity responds to this and he goes, well, GMs can be bad. I am fine with a GM being bad and learning from it. I actually love this comment.
I,
That's A-okay. But the smug nature of this front office is what irks me and others. They think they are smarter than everyone when they are literally dumb and dumber. They think their analytical approach cannot do any harm. They live and die by it because numbers can't lie. That smugness is what I despise. And I think there is some real truth to some of the disdain for this front office that does come from what Veracity is saying, right? There's this semblance of smugness, this we know better. And I wouldn't even be that upset if that was their what they were emanating. If you watch them learn from their mistakes. Like I really do like what he says. GMs can be bad and I am fine with a GM being bad if they learn from it. Because that's how you get good at being a GM. No one who takes a general manager job, unless you have a bunch of experience, has done it before. Yeah. Even Alex Anthopoulos, I mean, when he took over as the general manager for the Blue Jays, it was on the back of being JP Ricciardi's assistant. It was on the back of him starting with the Montreal Expos in the mailroom, right? Like these are all positions where you're learning on the job. And I think the best general managers are the ones who do just that. Learn from mistakes. And I'm not saying that this front office doesn't learn from mistakes. I do think that they've done some good things. It's just not good enough.
yeah, I
And
mean,
they're
I saw Mike Wilner was on the Foul Territory or one of those podcasts, and he was kind of saying the same thing. I said that's the general vibe around this front office is that they do seem to be of the opinion of themselves that they are the smartest guy in the room, and that's not a good place to be when you're a 70-win team.
put it on a shirt. All right.
Also suggested does not think Ross Atkins is going anywhere because he is the puppet for Shapiro, which
Right.
is like the I
It
buy that,
will.
but I also don't. Like on the one hand, like I get it. If Shapiro is the one pulling the strings and Atkins is just the public face doing the moves that he tells him to, like I get it. You want to go. It's the same argument with managers, right? Like the managers are just putting in the lineup that the GM told them to, right? Or who,
Yeah.
whatever. You don't want an argument every time you're making a roster move or a lineup change, right? So like I get that. But also like how obtuse do you have to be to think, well, Ross Atkins is the only one who's going to do what he's told? And the
Yeah.
vibe from the fan base is so
Toxic right now, really.
toxic right now. Like if that was actually the case and you're Mark Shapiro and you're the one who's like running the team and the making all the moves and Ross Atkins is your guy and he's just playing ball and just doing what he's told, hire me. I'll do what I'm told. Like
Yeah.
there's got to be a dozen other options that will also do what they're told that
There's probably
Shapiro
a
knows but doesn't have that nasty. taste in the mouth feeling with the Blue Jays fans. Like the fan base's attendance is going to go down eventually, man.
It
Like,
is. It is. There's probably internal options
right.
that would be just fine. That the fan base it would temper the fan base's frustration and
Hire
anger.
Mark Shapiro Jr. for all I care, man. Like
Yeah.
literally hire your son and put him in there and he could be a Nepo baby for all I care, but at least it won't be like we've had it.
If Ross Atkins' tenure outlasts Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s, kill me. Just end
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I'm done. I
Mhm.
say that, but we all know I'm a masochist and I'm not done. And I'll just continue to watch this team as they're even freaking worse than they are now. But that's my problem. That's my cross to bear. Going to
Jeez.
YouTube.
There you go.
This is from Aswells. He goes, Scott, your enthusiasm for the DR and its baseball is awesome. Your pronunciation of Latino names, however, ... And very true. My apologies. I flubbed up many names in that Friday episode, and I do sincerely apologize. I do truly believe that everyone deserves their names said properly, and just did not happen. One other little correction here while we're talking about my mispronunciations. So I have brought it up on the show numerous times. The cradle of shortstop, right? Which is San Pedro de Macorís. And I keep saying it Marconis because I turn the R at the end into an N. I don't know why, but I have been. My wife gives me shit about this too, by the way. So you're not alone. For everyone who's like, Scott, get it right. Believe me, there is a lady right next to me half the time correcting me. So you can feel better about that. Yes, San Pedro de Marcaris. There we go. All right. I still probably
There you
fucked
go.
it up, but I'm doing my best. uh, This is from YouTube. Mark Ryan. This one kind of made me laugh because we were talking about how we're back. We're without a fancy camera on my end, but we're back. And Mark Ryan goes, Scott, if you were to digitally alter your voice, the pod would look like a confidential informant spilling the beans, which true. It did. I did have a witness protection vibe to me last show with the lack of lighting and being in a dark room and just the
Mhm.
weird microphone being used. So thanks for putting up with us. I know that we still had pretty good views and listens on our numbers. So thank you and appreciate you putting up with that. Oh, this one I loved. By the way, if you guys have any little tidbits of information that maybe we don't know, I love trivia like this. So this Muscle Rarton, which I love that handle,
Mhm.
by the way.
Right.
It's like if Russ Martin was out solving mysteries with Scooby Doo, right? Muscle Rarton. Uh,
Jesus Christ.
so he
Oh my
goes,
God.
he goes, just discovered Ross Atkins was drafted in 1995 by the Cleveland Indians in the 38th round, a round of baseball that's not even in there anymore, as a pitcher. Never made it to the show and retired with a 4.13 ERA and 512 innings in the minors. He somehow still managed 20 years in the Cleveland organization. Dude is simply just a lifelong parasite. 30 years and still sucking the life out of clubs. Oh, how I miss the AA days. I had no idea Ross Atkins was drafted. Were you aware of this, Adam?
No.
No. There you go. That is our last question.
It's the off season, folks.
It's the off season. We're still running mailbag. I'm live in the Dominican Republic, so
There you go.
doing our best here to get content out to you. We pray to the baseball gods above that this Blue Jays front office does something. I want to say anything, but that's a dangerous thing to put out there. Does something of impact over the next month. Heck, make it over the next few days would be nice because it sure is getting frustrating talking about all these other lineups that are being bolstered. Well, we don't even talk about the Blue Jays, but there we
Hey,
are. That
we're
is,
only we're only like a month away from pitchers and catchers reporting.
yeah, it's right around the corner here. It's wild how slow this front office has bolstered this team, but hopefully it
February
speeds up.
10th is pitcher catcher day.
1 month. Wow.
So
All right, folks. Thank you so much for following along. You can drop all of your comments below on YouTube here. You can always reach out on Twitter at Walk Off Podcast, Blue Sky, the Walk Off Podcast, Instagram, the Walk Off Podcast. A big tip of the hat and a hearty thank you to our Patreon members. We could not run the channel without you. Take care of yourselves, everybody, and we will see you on Friday. Cheers.
cheers.